seated, great. If you're standing, even better. But let's just take a shoulder roll. So just rolling our shoulders, pulling back, just roll them forwards. Just give them one circles and the other one circles, one circles and the other one circles, then circle them back. Then one forward, one back, one forward, one back, and the other one forward, the other one back, the other one forward, the other one back. Just shrug your shoulders up and let them drop. Just shrug your shoulders up and let them drop. Okay, just turn your head towards your either side. We're going to do it both sides, so don't worry whether it's left or right. We're not doing technique at the moment. And the other side, slowly stretch out, warm it up, warm it up, warm it up. Then the ear, drop your ear towards your shoulder, drop your ear towards your shoulder, drop your ear towards your shoulder. Then just give yourself your chin a push forward. Push your chin forward, try and get your shoulders back, and give yourself a double chin by pulling it back. And push it forward, and give yourself a double chin by pulling it back. So just take your feet apart a little bit, hands on your hips, and we're just going to give our ribs a little circle, circling the ribs, and circling them the other way. And just push them over to one side, then push them over to the other side, then push them forward, and then push them back. Push your hands away from you, just give your back a little bit of a stretch. And push them back behind you. Give yourself a hug as well. And then open them up again. And then now with the hips, same thing, circle them one way. I know that maybe they've not moved for a while, but let's move the hips. Then one side, then the other, then one side, then the other, pushing them forward, pushing them back, pushing them forward, and pushing them back. Okay, from your feet together, and you're just going to bend your knees slightly. I'm going to move my camera down a little bit so you can see me. So just bending your knees slightly, and just hanging over, passive stretch. And roll up slowly. Then just go down again, passive stretch. Don't force anything, and just roll up slowly. Okay, and just on your toes, just get the blood going a little bit. And just a little jog. Okay, hands here. We're just going to make a sound when we push forward. So we're just going to go, huh! And again, huh! A little bit louder, huh! So it's really deep in your belly. And we go, huh! And once more, huh! Take it out again, huh! And one last time, huh! And this time we'll take it out and go, huh! Huh! Shake it all about. Okay, good. So we're not going to spend ages and ages and ages just getting the body moving. So what we'll do is this idea of movement in motion. I want you to think of the idea of, let's talk about the word, or suggest the word, anger. So you can come a little bit closer to just whilst I'm talking. So the idea of anger. So often, can you show me what anger looks like? That's just the question. Show me what anger looks like. If you had it, if only your hand could explain it and your arm. Okay, so how does then, this is another question, how does anger move? Just with your arm and your hand, how does it move? Okay, good. So what you'll notice is, as a lot of the time when we do this exercise, the first idea is anger, that it has to be this. And that's what I call mimetic. It's kind of a, you're showing it as an action rather than a movement. So when I say how does it move, most people, sometimes they'll keep that, but you'll notice the dynamics of it is sharp and angular. So how movement looks, it's sharp and angular. How anger looks, it's sharp and angular. So with that idea, we're just going to stay with the arms and the shoulders again, just while I'm sitting here. How then would you say love looks as a movement? Okay, so just improvise. How does love look as a movement? Is it curved? Is it soft? Is it straight and direct? So think of the energy and how that emotion makes you move. So we're looking at love. So what is your interpretation of love? Off you go. Good, good. Fantastic. Okay, so you can take it into your shoulders, you can take it into your chest, just move it around a little bit more of how the idea of love is. So you're not explaining it, it doesn't have to be this, it's about how, what is that energy? How does it feel? Beautiful. There's a choreography here, all straight away. Beautiful. Okay, so now we're going to look at, good, well done for that. Now we're going to look at the idea of, let's say, frustration. Same thing, frustration. You can only explain that idea of frustration with your shoulder, just what we can see on screen. Okay, off you go, frustration. So again, sorry, just let me stop you. If you do throw an odd thing in that's mimetic, like, see where happens after it. So it's not just the one thing and I'm frustrated. It's like you might slip that in just to help people understand what it is. You won't necessarily, everybody won't necessarily understand it all the time, but it's that idea you might go through that movement and then have this idea of frustration that's still there, still present. So yeah, off you go, off you go. Good. Try to go for those unusual parts of your body that you see how much you can reduce it. See how small you can make it, even if it's just the shoulder. So how can that part of your body just talk about or express that emotion of frustration? So really think about what it is in the micro as well. Okay, beautiful, fantastic. Okay, so then now what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to choose an emotion, and I want you to do like an exploration of that emotion. And you, again, you can use as much of your body as you want. Basically, showing us what that emotion looks like, how it manifests in the body. So you can get up, you can stay sitting in your chair, but explore different parts of your body, how you make a choreography based on the emotion that you choose. Okay, so I'm just going to give you a couple of minutes just to explore. If you can remember what you've done, fine, but if not, just keep it as an improvisation. So just explore the idea of the emotion that you choose. Off you go. Great. Okay, good. So pause there. Would anybody like to come on as to show theirs to the rest of the group? Just raise your hand if you wouldn't mind. Okay, Declan. So Declan, I'm going to unmute you. So what I've just done with Declan is I've unmuted Declan and I'm going to put him on, I'm going to make Declan a host, and that will allow you all to see Declan, okay?
Hi.
Hey Declan.
Hey, how are you?
Can everybody see Declan?
Yes.
Can everybody hear Declan?
Yes.
Brilliant. Declan, would you like to share with us what your emotion was with the movement?
Just the movement first, yeah?
Yeah, that'd be great.
It was like this.
Okay, fantastic. So I'm getting movement. Thanks, Declan. I'm getting something that's quite heavy. The movement looks quite heavy, and it's often like, it feels like depression. I might not be exactly right, but it's kind of in that realm. Would I kind of be about right?
So it was disappointment.
Disappointment. Okay. So Declan, could you then try it again and have different parts of your body be disappointed rather than just your hands?
Yep.
Thanks, Declan. This isn't planned, everybody. I've just picked on Declan because he's raised his hand. Thank you.
Okay.
So try it with your shoulder, try it with your head, try it with different parts of your body. Brilliant. Okay. Thanks, Declan. Thank you. Thank you. Does anybody else, we're going to take this exercise a little bit further. Would anybody else like to volunteer? Okay, Vicky, just 1 second. I'm just going to mute Declan again. I'm not actually. Here we go. Let's change the view. Declan, is that by any chance, can you see Vicky?
I can see Vicky, yeah.
Would you if you don't right click her picture,
Yep.
you'd be able to see a thing that says make
host.
That's it. So make Vicky the host.
Okay, she's
and
the
then
host.
It should ask you if you're sure. So Vicky, you're now the host. So you can unmute yourself. If you press your mic, you should be able to unmute yourself.
Okay.
Yes, fantastic. Can everybody see Vicky? Can everybody hear Vicky? Yeah, thumbs up, hands up, whatever. Fantastic.
Okay.
So Vicky, you're going to give us your movement.
Oh, okay. I thought somebody was saying no, they couldn't see me. Okay.
Yeah, so everybody can see you. Fantastic. Lovely. Yes. Okay. Yes. Brilliant. Thank you, Vicky. Could you, let's stay there. Stay. If you could stay up, thank you. So could you reduce that movement to just in your right shoulder? So reduce that emotion to just in your right shoulder. Fantastic. Okay, brilliant, Vicky. Could you now give us think of a text that might go with this, either as a opposition to create some tension, or something that's frustrating that goes with the text. So it could be something that's quite calm or something that goes with it. Is that clear?
So like the opposite of what I'm feeling, or
You could say the opposite. Yeah. So if you could go the opposite, because then that will create the tension between what you're saying and the movement, or you could have something that goes with the movement, where it's something that's frustrating.
Just make it up. Okay.
Make it up, or if you know a line from a play.
I'll just make something up.
Okay.
I'm trying to look like I know what I'm doing.
Okay. Can you sing? Can you sing Can you sing, Vicky?
No, but it doesn't matter.
Can you hum a really Hum a lullaby.
Having a lullaby.
Yeah, any lullaby. It doesn't mean we don't need to know that it's an actual real one. It's just the idea of a lullaby.
Okay.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Vicky. Okay, does anybody else, that's brilliant, thank you. Does anybody else want to volunteer or show their emotion? We're going to do one more, then we're going to move on to the next part. Anyone else? Be brave. If you asked your students to volunteer and nobody volunteered, you'd be pretty disappointed.
So I right-click on Fitzpatrick.
Ah.
Okay, yeah, so you're right, that's it. You're right click and make Fitzpatrick the host. So you right click and you'll see make host. Yeah?
Yep.
And then you can mute yourself and
Myself.
then Fitzpatrick, you can unmute yourself.
Okay, am I unmuted now?
Yes, can everybody hear and see?
Okay.
Fantastic. So in the top right, by the way, of your screen, you'll see speaker view. If you click speaker view, you can see Fitzpatrick just in full screen. But there'll be a strip along the top as well. So you can see.
This is the first time I've ever done Zoom, so my name is Irene.
Oh, hello, Irene. So Irene, would you like to show us what your emotion and your movement?
Okay, trying to find a good spot for my computer so I can not be in too much. Okay.
Irene, actually,
Yes.
you know that do you know your emotion? Is there somewhere in your immediate environment in the room which might enhance the feeling where you could stand rather than standing in the middle of the space? Could you sit? Could you be in a door frame? So it looks more filmic. That adds to the idea. It's beautiful. So, you ready? Off you go. Nice. Wow, amazing.
You inspired me when you said filmic.
Yeah, and this is just a very simple thing, because one on the groups, somebody was asking about showing people, filming people doing dancing and doing theatre. So one of my suggestions was, rather than thinking about how you can mark them and have them find a space that's just like a stage, a big space, try and ask them to redo the movement or redo the scene in a space in their home which represents what they're trying to say, which enhances what they're trying to say. So use the environment to enhance what it is that they're trying to create. Get them to film it so it's more filmic rather than them just documenting it as so you're watching it. Do you understand what I mean? So you're just finding locations, you're becoming like a director. So I also sent a few camera angles. So if you look in the feed again, you'll probably see that, or I can send it to you. Okay, thank you, Irene.
You're welcome.
Do you want to make me the host again? So
Yes.
you'll right click and then you make me the host.
It says pin video, spotlight video.
Okay, so click on my picture, my image, and then right click, and then it should have a drop down menu saying make host.
Okay, I'm going to change host. Yes.
Yes, brilliant,
Okay.
fantastic. See, it's really, really simple. I know it's the first time you've used this, Irene, but it's really simple to get this idea of changing, talking to people, and being able to have people at center. You can make them big screen. They can talk to each other. They can go off into a separate room, speak to themselves. So speak to other people. So if you then now if they're, again, actually, you probably don't. Let's not do that. So within your environment, go to the same places where you stood up or sat down, and I want you to just have a quick think of a text or a line from any play that you like. Any play that you like. But I want you to be aware of what the subtext is of it, or give it a subtext. So I'll give you just a couple of minutes just to think about a line in a play.
Okay. Well, we're working on Macbeth now, so I happen to have that in my mind.
Okay. Okay. So yeah. So everybody, I'm just going to mute you again, Irene. Okay.
Mhm.
So I can speak to everybody at the same time.
Oh.
So everybody, give me a thumbs up if you understood what I've just asked you to do, please. Yeah, brilliant. Some people have not put their thumbs up, so that I'm thinking that you've not. Yes, thank you. I'm thinking that. Thank you. Yeah. So just think of a line of text or a phrase in a play that you're working on or you want to work on. Okay, fantastic. Does everybody have something? Thumbs up if you do. Brilliant. So this is the advantage of having your video on. I know some of you might not have a video camera, but just so I can see you and we can interact, it's a lot easier. So with that text, I'd like to think of what the subtext is. And I want you to do the same thing with the movement, but I want, on a scale of 1 to 10, I want you to make the movement a 10, but recite the line at the same time. So you have the line and the movement that lasts that length of time. Does that make sense? Thumbs up if it does. Not sure? Tanis, I'm going to unmute you if you ask. Oh, is it a thumbs up or you're not sure? Okay, so I'm going to, Tanis, can you speak so I can hear you?
Yeah. Can
Everybody hear Tanis? Thumbs up?
Just
okay.
Could you just clarify just one more time?
So you have the line of text that I've asked you to discover.
Yeah.
And with that line of text, you're going to say the line, but you're going to think about what is the subtext of that line. And then with that subtext, it's going to be the physicalization of the subtext.
Okay.
Yeah?
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. So I'll give you a minute just to explore that. Okay, off you go. And this can be another emotion. It doesn't have to obviously be the same one as what you had before, or a different subtext. So remember, the movement, the emotion is a 10. Okay, brilliant. Okay, would anybody like to share just their line? It doesn't have to be the movement yet. Would anybody like to share just their line? Hand up if you don't mind sharing. Tanis, okay. I'm going to unmute you. I'm going to make you the host. So you can all have a go. Okay, Tanis, you are now the host. So if anybody wants to click on the speaker view, you can see the speaker large, which is in your top right-hand corner. You should see speaker view. Okay, Tanis.
Well, okay, so the line is, I'm not anything but confused by a guy who tells me he's interested in me.
Okay, can you say that again?
I'm not anything but confused by a guy who tells me he's interested in me.
Okay, So I want you to now do the text with the movement at a 10.
Okay. I'm not anything but confused by a guy who tells me he's interested in me.
Okay. Can you now take it down to a 7? The movement. Still try and keep the subtext and the intensity with the voice, but try and take the movement down to a
Okay.
7.
I'm not anything but confused by a guy who tells me he's interested in me.
Okay, fantastic. Obviously, there's a slight change in the intensity of what you're saying. So try and keep the intensity of what you're saying, but lessen with the movement, because we're going to try and reduce this down to a 1. So obviously, when you're on stage, you've got this subtext of the movement, imagination of the movement within your belly. Yeah, so that's going to drive that emotion. So we're going to try and keep the intensity of the voice of the emotion, but the physicalization of it is going to reduce. So we're going to now reduce it to a 4. The movement to a 4, try and keep the intensity of the speech.
Okay. I'm not anything but confused by a guy who tells me he's interested in me.
Okay, brilliant. Can we take it down to a 1? The movement to a 1, still keep the voice.
I'm not anything confused by a guy who tells me he's interested in me.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. Thank you, Tanis. Come back. Round of applause for Tanis, please. Everyone, thank you. Whatever you want to do. Okay, so as when we're working with script, we do, in the UK, we call it actioning a script. I don't know, guys, what you call it when you go through the script. This is the subtext of this line. This is the subtext of that line. So we call it actioning a script. So as well as actioning a script, you can also use it as the physicalization. So you basically have a physical script as well. So at any point, you can take the words out and just be doing movement. At any point, you can mix and match these two things. So one is more present, one is less present. But actually, the emotional journey is always the same through the text, because everybody knows where they are physically and everybody knows where they are emotionally and mentally. So trying to bring those two things together is quite a key thing. So we can go on. That's a longer exercise. We can go into other things, but it's just a very simple thing that I wanted to kind of demonstrate, just so even sitting down, standing up, there's a way that you can reach your students. There's a way that you can bring them in and talk, and they can talk to each other. So Zoom is probably one of the most friendly ones to use as we're using it. But then I've got other platforms that I use, like Click Meeting and other things, where you can set up rooms for other people to go off and have a chat in. It's probably more than you need now, but it's something that's available. So my setup is, I'm just going to talk a little bit more, then I'll just invite questions. So my setup, I'm just going to show you here. My mic, unfortunately, didn't work. I've got this headset on. So when I'm using music as well, I'm able to be at the other end of the studio, and I can mix the sound with my voice, because obviously if you're hearing loud music, you won't be able to hear me talk. So this little thing, let me just show you. Can everybody see that? So what we have is a thing called an M Audio. Now what I've got is this is a Bluetooth Wi-Fi receiver, which receives my voice. And it goes into a little mixer here, you can see it here. So you can use music, which I'm playing through which I would play through my phone. This mixes in, so it's my voice and the phone music is going in the back. This is the volume that turns it up and down, etc. And that connects via a USB to my computer. So I can put I'll send you all the technical details of how you set them up. And some of the things You can do this. You don't necessarily have to have a mixer if you're not using any music. You can just talk like I am at the moment into the mic, which I'm doing. Again, you might not need all that technicality if you're just talking to students and we're doing what we did. Most of the settings I've got on here that we're doing at the moment are just standard settings in Zoom. When you create the Zoom meeting, if you want everybody to be muted when you first start it, you can set that up at the beginning as a meeting. When people join, their video is off and their sound is off, or their video, any combination of those two things. So it's very easy to set up, and that's why I did it on this, because most people have been talking about Zoom. This is what I use. I've used Click Meeting. As I say, it's a lot more sophisticated. You can have a thing on there called a waiting room. So when they arrive at the webinar, at the class, they come. You might say, okay, watch this video before we start. So they're able to watch a video and then they're able to make notes. Then you can ask them questions, because oftentimes you'll send them an assignment to do and they won't do it. But if they turn up to the class, it's like, oh, do this right now. You've got 5 minutes to do it, and you can come into the class, and then I'm going to ask you some questions, so be ready. So once they've arrived, they're not kind of expecting that. If they've arrived at the space, you drop that on them. It's like, okay, it's not a problem, but just make sure you do it. So there's all those other things with other platforms. Again, you can send them a PDF, you can send them a video, you can screen share with whatever you're doing. So I'll stop waffling, because hopefully there's some questions. And if you have a question about the exercises, about the tech, about anything that you're not sure about, just raise your hand and I'll unmute you, then you can ask the question for everybody. Andrew. So Andrew, when I unmute you, do you just want to say where you're from? And hold on, I'm not the host. Why am I not making? Why am I not seeing you as the host? So have I? Oh, Tanis, can you make me the host again? Oh, actually, no. Let's practice doing. Make Andrew the host. So you right-click it. That's it. Brilliant. So it says right-click and it says make host on Andrew's image.
Hold on.
Yes. Done it.
There we go.
So Andrew, where you calling in from?
Long Island, New York.
Ah, anybody close to Andrew? Irene, where are you coming? Andrew, could you unmute Irene?
It actually looks like, Chrissy, that Tanis is still the host on my end.
Oh, really?
I think.
Tanis, can you, if you hover over Andrew's square, and then you make him the host, if you right click it. No worries, you can still stay host, Tanis. Irene, can you unmute yourself?
Yes. Am I okay?
So whereabouts are you, Irene?
I'm from Central Jersey, but I'm originally from Queens, New York, so I'm very familiar with Long Island.
Ah, okay, brilliant, thank you. So Andrew, Irene, would you mind muting yourself again? Andrew, would you, what's your question?
Yeah, you said when you were going through the movements and you said frustration and you had this sort of movement, I think you called it something pneumatic. Is that the word you use?
I say mimetic. It's like
mimetic.
Yeah, it's like if you mime something, it's like.
Got it. So it's less, that's more of your mimetic movement. It would be a literal movement rather than some sort of abstraction of that.
Yeah. So but I say it's not, I don't always think that it's a bad thing to have that mimetic or that thing in there, as long as it's not all made up of that.
Right.
It's just the idea of like you might move through that, or you might have that mimetic thing in another part of your body.
Gotcha. Great.
Yeah. Was that all, Andrew?
That was it. Yeah, I couldn't catch that vocabulary, so it was helpful. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Declan, yeah, you can unmute yourself just there, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to. I tried out a class with an improv class, and we had problems with kind of establishing a nice rhythm and a beat because of the video delays. Have you experienced that, or is that
Depends
just
yeah, a lot of it depends on the connection. On it, sometimes the connection of the the person that's delivering it might not be ideal. So that's the only thing. I mean, a lot of the time, it literally, if they're in the same state, sometimes it will be quicker because the bandwidth is a lot stronger. So I've not experienced that before because sometimes I'll teach like two movement. And there's always a slight delay. I'll do something to the music, but when the other people receive it, they're receiving the music and my movement all together. But I see a slight delay. So it's just a thing that I get used to.
Yeah. So that's something that's worth trying, because what I found is that everybody gets very static in this little square, and I wanted to get people up and moving, and music is a great way to do that. Like, so,
yeah, I think as you say, if that's the objective, is just trying to think of ways that you can allow people to stimulate each other rather than you kind of doing it yourself, and making sure that they're present and they're not passive. So a lot of the time, I know when I do stuff for teachers, they've got their notepad and pens out, and it's like, no, because there's a difference between knowing it and learning it. You have to know it. So that's what I always say. And like earlier when I said, does anybody want to volunteer? And nobody put their hand up. But most people wouldn't be very happy with their students if they said no.
definitely. Thanks, Kwesi.
Pleasure. Anybody else? Anybody else have any questions? Yes, Vicky, do you want to unmute yourself?
Okay.
Hi.
I'm on.
Where are you from, Vicky? Where are you calling in from?
Well, I'm originally from the U.S., but I teach in India. I'm in Bangalore.
Nice.
So my question is, I teach elementary. So my fear, like, I guess if I did a neutral, I also teach on the trimester. So I'm going to actually this is going to be the first time I'm meeting these students coming in. And so they'll be from pre-K going up to 5th grade. So usually when I'm in the room, we can have a word like neutral and everybody knows to stop. And I'm there to remind them to stop. But my question is, have you taught younger students? Because if they start twirling around the room uncontrollably.
Have I taught them using Zoom?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, because I was just wondering, like, what has happened? Just out of curiosity.
But what I would tend to do, because I have been asked to do it, what I would tend to do is work with a teacher that's in the room. So rather than everything being by just somebody on the screen, I'd kind of have a briefing with a teacher before. So even though you're bringing the value of the knowledge, that other teacher that's in the room is kind of more crowd controlled, more hands-on. So you're not just trying to speak to 20 children, you're speaking to one person that's in the room, or if they're 2 volunteers. So try and speak to the teachers beforehand as your allies to help you deliver that.
Okay. It's just kind of interesting because now they're at home, and sometimes they're not home with the parents, they're home with a nanny or their driver or something. So I was just wondering if you...
I see. I mean, I think it's like with any class, once you set up the parameters,
Right.
this is where you're going to be. Make sure the area is safe, make sure you're not going to go out of it, make sure all the furniture's out of the way. Just adapting what you would normally do in a class with lots of people there.
Okay.
Because I think I always say this, rather than comparing it to the real thing, it's what you can make and use this as a space to kind of create something that's not the real thing, but actually it's a different sort of set of advantages being able to do it online, because you're able to reach more people. And I always say it's like trying to compare it to a real thing. It's like comparing an MP3 to a live concert. We never do that. It's just
So maybe one thing, the way you started the class where we were sitting, that might be a better way to start, just with the hands, with the arms, and then once they're used to it, then move into.
Yeah, you've got it already.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Irene, who was fastest? Do you want to do that again? Any more questions? Who's quickest? One, Irene, go. Irene, you can.
Well, I have a comment and a question, and my comment is that, as I said, this is my first time on Zoom, and I'm rather impressed that, you know, there can be this much sense for me of connection, because I'm very reluctant. We just went out on Monday, and I thought, I really don't understand, you know, Hangouts, it's very buggy, and Zoom, I don't know. So I'm impressed that there can be actual connection, and I'm looking forward to, you know, to doing this, because I thought it was great. I do actioning, but I've never done physical actioning. So it's incredible. And I really appreciated Tanis's, you know, exercise, and the way that by the time the movement got to 1, it looked completely, you know, what you would say normal, or not stagey and theatrical. So I guess my question is, do you go through actioning physically with the intensity, or just as needed in a rehearsal process?
Once they get the idea of it, and they're used to that work process of working, then it's just as is. But again, as a director, or as somebody who is watching, you might find something that actually at a 10, it looks more interesting than a 1 or a 3. So again, it's just all play. So all that always about playing and seeing what works best. What I do, I kind of do often the reverse as well with dancers. So if I make a choreography, and it's obviously no words, once we've made the choreography, I ask them to speak as they're moving, not about the choreography, but actually give me some text. And that makes their movement far more richer, far more deeper, and far more. So at any point, I can say to them as a dancer, stop. What are you thinking? What's the conversation? And they're able to give me that conversation, because they're having that conversation with themselves. Does that answer your question? Okay, good. We'll take 2 more questions. Yes, sorry, Tanis. I was a pop-up came up from Andrew Wagner. Thanks. Okay, Andrew, I'll come to that. Tanis, go for it.
Okay, this is super quick. First of all, thank you. This has been really cool. In terms of like what we're doing right now, what's the purpose to change people to a host versus just having them unmute themselves when they're going to share something?
So you
only because I had so much trouble. I was like so lame. I couldn't figure out how to get back. I think I finally gave you the host back, but
that's the very point. We're just playing, and by making the mistakes, you learn the lessons.
Right. So what do I gain as a teacher by changing around the host status to people who are sharing?
So the host has the ability to, you know, to have the speaker view, because for me, it's about empowering them as well. Because if people have not used Zoom before as a student, it gives them the ability to run things themselves and connect with each other, rather than having to rely on you to motivate them.
Cool.
So
Thank you. Yeah.
Ability to everybody to be able to understand it, because then they're going to find things out about it and they'll tell you about it. And that means you don't have to do everything.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll take another one if there's another one. Hand up if there is, if there isn't. Okay. Brilliant. Well, hopefully that's been helpful. And thanks for your time. And again, if you want to do another specific class and you're interested in doing something, let me know. Just send me a message. And then if there's enough people that want to do it, I'll do a collective one. If there's 6, 7 people that, that would be an interesting thing that I'd like to do, or I want to do with my students, just let me know. Feel free to ping me a message. Okay.
Thank you very much. It was great.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody. All right. Take care. Enjoy the isolation. Take care. Bye-bye.